May I have your attention, please? Hey everybody, you ready for some Acousticafe?
Acousticafe was sort of the brainchild of Mark Wilson, who I think this would have been back in the late 90s. I feel like it would have been the late 90s. Started pulling together songwriters and creating open stages around town to build community and also give a place for songwriters. So, and then it's developed into the one open stage that it has now, but it used to be in other locations as well.
An organization that was founded to bring singer-songwriters together, to have a sense of family and community, and to help all of these artists create venues or find venues that will accept us in and let us call that a home for a once-a-week sort of thing, or for like the Arts Festival. Acousticafe had their own stage there for a couple of years.
An open stage series. So Mark Wilson, a friend of ours, and Cheryl and Hawk, and a couple other musicians created it. One of the first kind of regular open stages in the Pittsburgh area. That was 20 years ago. It just accumulates people as it goes along. And the musicians have short slots. It's just like any other open stage. You have a quick slot, get a good chance to get up in front of some people and play, and then listen to other people. And a lot of times bands get formed for people that collaborate with each other.
It's kind of like a church for musicians or songwriters, I would say. I grew up going to Christian churches, Catholic churches, and a lot of folks go to those because they want the community. They want to, know what's going on with friends and family members who attend the same gathering every week. And I would say Acousticafe is a similar kind of thing, especially artists and musicians. Not all, but most of them aren't really church-going folks, I would say. They're a little bit more on the fringe of philosophy. So I would say that Acousticafe is kind of, it's church for singer-songwriters. They come together and play music every week and have amazing experiences, uplifting experiences, and hopefully experiences that push them to be better artists and songwriters.
For me, it's Pittsburgh's music community. That's the whole thing. I mean, I've done a whole bunch of open mics in literally various countries around the world, not around the world, but at least Europe and some here in the United States. And I'm a big fan of the idea. And so for me, when people get very committed to an open mic scene or a singer-songwriter circle scene, it becomes a community. So for me, that's very much what the gig is all about. This is probably the second longest stint that I've done in that kind of format. There was one in Dublin that I was at religiously for like almost 20 years as well. And it had that same kind of feeling. It's like, we all know each other's stuff inside out because we've been listening to these songs develop as we come up week after week. And so it's kind of like community living room workshop. That's the whole vibe of it. And that's why I keep coming back to it.
The original vision was for it to be a showcase open stage, to really kind of have it be a good night musically and not just be kind of the place where a lot of people just starting out were starting out.
This was first and foremost what Mark and Cheryl had in mind was to develop, I think they called it an angel organization back then. Right. The idea being to foster, create this community for other songwriters to support one another and help them, grow their craft and to give them that platform in order to be able to perform and to be able to grow as an artist and as a songwriter.
Yes, it's an open mic, but we try to raise it up a notch. Just encourage people to bring their A game, so to speak, not just playing for a beer. try to go a little bit beyond that, I think, is what we're trying to do. And I think once the people that are truly interested in playing experience it, they tend to come back. You are part of me now.
on, it was me and Paul Tabachnik and Joel Lindsey that were in a rotation as hosts. And of course, you know, one of the different things about this one, I think, than other open stages at the time was the ability to kind of like load the night with artists that you want to feature. So it was fun to kind of curate the night as a guest host. I was able to, you know, pull out people that don't play out much, like Eve Goodman and Tracy Drock. I got Jen Wertz out when she hadn't been playing for years. Gosh, who else? Brooke Smokeland came out. I think Bill came out, Bill DC. I'm not quite sure exactly, but it was fun to be able to kind of do that.
Began to sponsor several different open mics around town. I was involved with one at Kofenia that was Acousticafe sponsored. And Senior Frogs in Bridgeville. That was when I met Jeff Hope. And wherever he's gone, he's had me come along and be one of the hosts in rotation. Most of the time it's been Acousticafe singer-songwriters that have hosted the open stages. After Senior Frogs was Magoo's in Wexford. And then there was one downtown, Papa J's. And then he moved to Hambones. As soon as we started doing the Club Cafe open mic, that one was hot right off the bat. I think because of its location on the south side. There's so many other venues. There used to be a lot of other venues on the south side. There's not as many live music venues there anymore. But it was a great music hub when we first kicked off 20 years ago at Club Cafe. And you know, a lot of people would come out that had bands, and they would come out as either solo or just a duo and promote their shows. That was more successful than any of the other open stages that I was doing, or other people that were doing, sponsored as an Acousticafe event.
We developed that idea into having a house band backing up the open stage, so that when people had, if they had a chart or they'd taught people the song before, people could just jam along and have something to do. And it was good for folks like us who weren't necessarily going to be writing or performing a song, but we get to get up on stage and interact with the other musicians and kind of develop in that way as well.
And it had a website, which was very new for the time, with profiles of any singer-songwriter, any artist, their picture and a bio, kind of like a way to kind of pull together the whole music community in the city, or disparate pockets to put them all in one spot, which was sort of a big project, I think, early on. And then I think it kind of went quiet for a second, and then it came back at Club Cafe. And then now it's over at the Funhouse.
So I took employment with a wicked witch. She had her spells on me. And while she played her golden guitar, it put her into sleep.
Sign up, get a drink and sit down. Take a deep breath, relax and look around. She's got the longest legs. She's got the warmest brain. Said a little prayer for my friends who live out there. And when we call out for another drink, the waiter brought a tray.
Since the very early days, like I got here in 2000 myself, and I actually got invited to come along. I knew nothing about it, knew nothing about any of the people. I don't even remember who. I think it was Paul Tabachnik brought me down, and it was a funny story, because when he invited me to a party, I think a couple of weeks before, at Jesse's house, and he said, you know, here's all the best musicians in Pittsburgh. You got to see all these people. And I went down into his basement, and everybody's jamming, and it was the most horrific music I'd ever heard in my life. It was awful. And I literally ran out of the place. Myself and Jesse laugh about this now. I ran out of the place saying, "Oh my God, this is awful. Like, the musicianship in Pittsburgh is dreadful." And Jesse told me later, says, "Oh man, you walked in just at the time when everyone said, play an instrument you don't know." So literally, I walked into the basement and all these people were just crapping all over the basement with their music, and I literally ran out. And then I think it was the next week after that, Paul brought me down then to Acousticafe, and I met people like Dave Pahanish, and I think Bill Deasy was there, and Cheryl Hawk. And suddenly I was like, okay, this is this is a bit better. This, you know, and you know, so I did my thing, and they just said, you know, just keep coming back.
Lots of country music in my teenage years, then I quit because I didn't want to sing country anymore. Took a break, and the next thing I knew, I was moving to Pittsburgh. I had married someone who was in the music scene in Pittsburgh that lived in Wheeling, and got a band together after working at Mellon Bank for a couple of years, and opened up for the Sleeping Giants at Rosebud and all the big places they played. They were very popular at the time. My brother-in-law, Doug Edgell, was in the band, and couple of years into that is when I started to do acoustic shows along with my full band shows, because I could, as a working musician, play every night of the week if I did acoustic shows as well. And in doing acoustic shows, I came upon a monthly gig at Bullwinkle's on Bower Hill Road, and that was where I met Mark Wilson. I was playing with my acoustic trio, Nathan Wilson, different spelling of Wilson. Mark's Wilson has 2 L's. Nathan had 1 L. He still has only 1 L. But Mark saw me playing there, and he went home and told his wife Joyce all about me and my band. And they came out the next time, and he had already started thinking about Acousticafe. You'll have to ask him the story of how it first came to mind for him, but when he saw me playing, he thought, I need to get this girl involved.
I started attending sometime in 2010-ish time frame, 2009, 2010. I was a former regular, first introduced me to it, and I was just like, wow, this is good and this is free, wow. Because I had never really discovered local music before that, and that was like my gateway. One day I decided to bring a camera, and then I got a good lens, and then things got even more fun, and it just kept going. So I kind of became the media guy because I was bringing the toys anyways, so why not?
I started in 2002, so almost 18 years. I'm not one of the founders, but I was one of the original, I guess, folks that would go. It was actually 20 when I started sneaking into Club Cafe, and I did turn 21 shortly after that, and I would go on a regular basis. So I've been going to Acousticafe on and off for 17 years. So yeah.
Took a break for a couple of years. Started back up in 2007. Mark Wilson called me and said, "We're starting the Open Mic Mondays again. We'd really love for you to be a host for the night." And so on my way, I wrote a song and got out of my car, got to the back of my car and sat with my guitar and made sure that I could play it, and use the same melody that I had been writing the lyrics to all the way. And then I opened the night with that song, and it worked out real nicely. I played this song with Jeremy Colbert, and it was outside, which was lovely. I didn't know that that the Acousticafe open stage also had an outdoor possibility from time to time. That was my first time here at the Mr. Smalls Open Mic Mondays, so that was lovely.
My favorite memories of Club Cafe are things like when Jimbo would come down and the whole audience would be like singing along to his songs, and just like he just made the whole room feel really, really great.
So many amazing moments. I would say when a songwriter on stage And the songwriter that comes to mind is Mark Dingam, who was really talented at doing this. Getting on stage, having a group of other musicians accompanying him on stage, and getting the entire room to sing together in harmony. I would say I've had many moments like that at Acousticafe, but if I could put them all together, I would say the most memorable moments were when everybody was singing in harmony.
Hope to God the sun shines for you. I hope to God the sun shines for you. Hope to God the sun shines for you. I hope to God the sun shines for you.
Hi, I'm Zach Funk. I managed to be smarter, nerdier, and more Amish than Erik Williams. Hi, I'm Michael Cohen. No, not the former lawyer for Trump. Rather, the amiable anarchist who will probably also be arrested by the FBI at some point. Y'all smoking bees? I said y'all smoking bees! Woo! That was pretty high. Y'all got a... What's your angle, Grandma?
And this is kind of cliche, but you know, I made my way all the way from east to west coast. But when I came back to Pittsburgh and played Acousticafe, the open mic, when it was back at Club Cafe, I'm telling you, the talent surpassed anything I'd seen in the country. And this was about 11 years ago. I just sat there and just watched after, you know, one after another, just talent, so much talent, fantastic songwriters. There was something so raw about the way these musicians were putting their songs together. I was blown away and just not expecting it. And honestly, 11 years later, that's one of the reasons I ended up staying here. That really inspired me and just said to me, this is a city that people don't know how good the musicians are here. And it was a huge turning point for me. You know, after experiencing that, I kept going every Monday night. I would go, you know, it became a community thing. I got to know all the musicians down there, and my songwriting, I really raised my game from being around these amazing musicians. And I think all the musicians at that time, because everybody was so good and so into it and so serious about their songwriting, we were all getting better and better from just going every Monday night. It was a really inspiring time.
You'll have on this open stage, you'll have everything running the gamut from songwriters that have been doing this for, 2 and 3 decades, from someone's basement to touring internationally, to you might have somebody then that this is their first time on a stage ever in front of anybody. So the breadth of experience in the room is massive. And it's kind of rare to come across that too, I think.
One of the special things about Acousticafe is that people who are just starting out or trying to get better saw where you can get to. Like some of the better people or people who are more experienced, they saw like what they have to shoot for. And then you could watch them develop over the weeks and months.
Just to be exposed to all these different influences, these different musicians, these different instruments. And I think being involved with these folks definitely shaped my artistry and my songwriting.
I came here basically with nothing to Pittsburgh in 11 years. You know, I've done a lot, and it all started with Acousticafe, going back to kind of what we're here for. This was kind of the seed to everything that I've managed to accomplish here. I formed this great band from the musicians I met there, and Pittsburgh inspired me enough to start my own company.
It's a small city with a small music scene, but it's definitely, what's great about that is you can get to everybody. You can kind of like call everybody up and say, I need this, I need that. I'm in an enviable position where I can pick up the phone and get any kind of musician in this town that I need, and that's golden. I really think that you could make any kind of world-class record that you want to make in this city with the musicianship here. Like literally everybody's just a phone call away. And that's fantastic.
Pittsburgh's a city where you can make what you want of it. You know, some things maybe are harder to do than in other cities, but I think it's kind of a blank canvas. I think if you've got the impetus to do something, I think it's a great city to try and make something of yourself.
You could start something here, and I think there's a lot of beginner level and intermediate level striving people, and for me and a lot of other people, that's the most interesting part of an artist's career, is that phase, watching it grow. And once it's established, yes, it's awesome, it's great, but it's not going to change very much from that point. Getting to see somebody when they're starting and beginning and developing is very interesting to me.
There was just something about coming to Acousticafe early on that just struck me. There was something very genuine about the people, the songwriting. There was so much heart, and that they were talented. The musicians were incredibly talented as well. But there was something about the songwriting that I thought, wow, there's something really special happening here. That was very different to other places I'd seen across the country. That's no BS. I know it's easy for me to say that I live in Pittsburgh. I'm not trying to, blow smoke. I really felt that. I really was impressed and surprised. Who knew? But it was that good, and it's still great. But I'm talking about 11 years ago, and it's amazing that it's still going strong. I think this is its 20th anniversary.
Open stages are a double-edged sword. Like, one of the great things about it is that anybody can play. And one of the horrible things about it is that anyone can play, right? And so sometimes people are at the very beginning and they're really rough around the edges. And, if you have a whole night of that, it's not the kind of thing that someone who just wants to hear music will come down and buy some drinks and have a good night. But if you have like both, and there's always like one or two people, every time I've ever gone to any open stage anywhere, there's always one person that I've never heard before that just blows me away. That happened consistently at the Acousticafe open stages. When I would go there, it would just be like, holy cow, there's a lot of really amazing talent in the city.
As a non-musician, I also view it as live performance. I've always been a fan of live performance. It doesn't matter what kind it is. If it's music, it's dance, it's theater, as long as it's live performance. And I came here, it drew me in because I see sincere live performance.
I think that word gets around. There are now a number of really good quality open stages in town for people, especially for songwriters and for comedians, and we welcome those as well, and poets. And I think the community itself has created its own advertising. Everybody knows where they're going to go on a Monday night. Everyone knows that they're maybe going to go to Ham Bones on a Tuesday night. They're going to check out Full Pint on a Wednesday night. Mm-hmm. We have Mr. Small's Cafe on every couple of Sundays. There are a lot of opportunities for people to play. So I generally, there's not much of a selling. It's just sort of, we just open the doors and make sure that it happens every week, and keep giving people the opportunity to perform whenever they want to.
Acousticafe is whatever the community wants to lean on it for it to be. And that's exactly what it has become. That was what it was as a dream at the beginning, something to create togetherness, because there was so much competition. People were naming prices that were lower than other people just to get into venues and pushing people out because they were cheaper. And, there wasn't a sense of community and camaraderie and networking, and there is now. And that was the whole dream and goal for Acousticafe. And now it's become sort of an actual physical thing. I mean, people call the open stage here at Mr. Small's Acousticafe. So it's not seeming to be the Open Mic Monday sponsored by Acousticafe. It has become the Acousticafe sort of headquarters.
And there's just not that many things like this in town. This is special. And I even say to people sometimes, somebody says, oh, what you got going on a Monday night? If someone says, what's good to do on a Monday night? I'd say, go to Acousticafe. It doesn't even matter if you're a musician. Just go down there and sit and watch. It's not going to be the same old cover bands, you see in all the, the kind of the dive bars around town playing, all the cheesy cover songs that they play. And by the way, I do that for a living. I play cover songs for a living. But here, you're hearing you know, people writing music, and it's an inspiring thing. So, like I said, musician or not, if you come here on a Monday night, I'm telling you, this is the best Monday night in town. Just sit in the audience and just watch, because you might just get to experience a real gem, which, you know, I guarantee every Monday night you're going to see at least one musician who you may have never heard before, but you feel very thankful that you went because you discovered something new from going.
Book a gig. Did the band show up? Yes. Did anyone else? Well, no.
Hey there, I'm Cheryl Ann Hawk.
I'm Heather Kropf.
I'm Ken Kerr.
I'm Lauren Demichiei.
I'm Mark Dingam.
I'm Jesse Prentiss.
And I'm Erik George.
My name's Joel Lindsey.
Singer-songwriter and producer.
I'm a singer-songwriter.
I'm the media guy for Acousticafe.
A music producer and songwriter.
Singer-songwriter from Dublin.
Pittsburgh-based British musician.
And I'm so glad that Mr. Bones knows me.
Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones knows me.
And Mr. Bones knows us.